Hi, continue with today's thought. I did a few thoughts ago where I said, or I made the argument that Trump's losing in 2020 may have been a blessing in disguise. And I think we're seeing the results now in that he has had 4 years to plan the next administration, which shows you, number one, how confident he was of winning but in 2024. But also, we've seen now, I mean, it's only been a little over a week since he won the election, and he's been moving at, I don't know, lightning speed to fill his cabinet positions and to make certain, the Europeans are doing things differently now. I don't want to get off on a wild track. You have American companies starting to move production out of China and back to the United States. Before he even takes off, he only won less than 2 weeks ago, and look at everything that is happening. One of the interesting ideas is now we're going to the Middle East, the subject of today's thought. You're already seeing a very great sea change in the Middle East, in this incoming administration's attitude toward the Middle East, because of, I'll expand on this a little bit more later, but a big example is Mike Huckabee has just been appointed, or he's been nominated to be the ambassador to Israel. He's been to Israel over 100 times, first time when he was about 17 years old in 1973. Very strongly pro-Israel, and that leads to a possible solution, a better solution to the quote-unquote Israel-Palestinian problem. Well, I don't want to get off on a track. There never was a that's what it is. You saw the thumbnail for today's thought, and that thumbnail is, as you saw, the title there, a 16th century map of ancient Israel. It was of the land between, the Mediterranean and the Jordan River and beyond. And the print is hard to see, and it's actually Latin. But if you look carefully, you'll see that it is Samaria in the north, Judea in the south. In other words, the ancient historical proper names of those areas. And as you can see, they go all the way from the Mediterranean to the Jordan River and beyond. That was all a Jewish kingdom at that time. And it was one Jewish kingdom at first, and then they split into two kingdoms, a disagreement of who should be the next king after a king died. So it was all Judah or Judea, and then it was Israel in the north, small Israel in the north, and Judah below. But anyways, it was all Jews are the indigenous population of that area. Arabs came in the Arab conquest of 638, and I don't want to get off on a history lesson. The point is that is all Jewish land, and keep that thought. But the idea is that the international community keeps harping on this two-state solution obsession of theirs, that there should be a state, a Jewish state and a Palestinian state next to, which was my point, that there was never a country called Palestine. And the Palestinian, you go to Resolution 242, that was a UN resolution that ended the 1967 so-called Six-Day War. There's no mention of Palestinians because they didn't exist, and this was something that was created later. You can find a quote from an Arab admitting, frankly saying that was because before that now I'm old enough to remember all this. The Egyptians, Assyrians were going to throw the Jews into the sea. That was their mantra. It was totally religious. And then the Israelis won, and the world was all on Israel's side. They marveled at this 6-day victory. You had the Egyptians, the Arabs, they weren't getting any sympathy at all. So what they did was, 1973, working with the French, of course, they came up with a new narrative, and so they changed it from a religious war. They said, well, they created a Palestinian people who are supposedly being oppressed, and they just want their freedom, and blah, blah, blah. In other words, they turned a religious war and converted that into a secular, fight for freedom. So I don't want to go too much into that today. The point is that right now, but everybody is pushing, or the international community is pushing, this so-called two-state solution, an Israeli, a Jewish state, and an Arab state side by side, another 22nd Arab state to join the 21 already existing. And the point is that it's not, the international community wants this. First of all, the Palestinians, Bill Clinton had, Camp David. He invited, at that time was Yasser Arafat, and Ehud Barak was Israeli prime minister, to negotiate a two-state solution, under the Oslo Accords. And what happened was that there was almost an agreement, a division of the land, gave the Palestinians, I'll use their term, that's the whole idea. If they want to call themselves Palestinians, what the heck, we'll humor them. It doesn't really matter. But if they want to call themselves Palestinians, they can. But the sort of Palestinians got 90, or would have gotten 7% of what they wanted. And what happened was at the very end, when it was time for Arafat to sign the agreement that would have ended the conflict, the dispute, whatever you want to call it, forever, permanently, he refused to sign. And why? Because of a clause at the end in that agreement that said that would end the dispute. He would not agree to that because he wanted to get land as a further stepping stone to destroying Israel. He would not agree to, again, had nothing to do with land, it just had entirely to do with, and all the Palestinian delegation, they were all urging him to sign, but he refused to do it because it would have ended, it would mean giving up any hope of destroying Israel. So he refused to sign, and that's why we are where we are today. One of the reasons we are where we are today. So the problem is that the Israelis would readily agree to two states side by side. Well, the phrase they use, 2 states for 2 peoples, and the Arabs, again, the Palestinians, they won't agree to that. They say 2-state solution, but they say there are 2 states, but they will never utter the phrase 2 states for 2 peoples because they refuse to. They claim to be a people, and they will not recognize a 3,500-year-old people as a people, and that. So they don't want a 2-state solution, okay? They want a 1-state solution. You see them marching in the streets, even here at Columbia University, New York, around here. Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. And what they mean is 1 state. They want another 22nd Arab state, but it would go from the Mediterranean River to the sea, Mediterranean to the Jordan, and Israel would cease to exist. The Israelis, on the other hand, they are coming to agree, to realize what I just said, that it's obvious that the Palestinians do not want a 2-state solution. They just want a stepping stone to destroy Israel. So the Israelis just say, well, we don't want a 2-state solution either. And in fact, the Knesset, I understand, if I remember correctly, they actually passed a law saying that, yeah, they did, saying no 2-state solution. So neither side wants 2 states. And the Palestinians want 1 state, and the Israelis, they are, well, this is what I want to get to today. I'm going to show you a video now. Caroline Glick, who I watch regularly, if you want a perspective on Israel, I highly recommend her. She has a regular vlog on YouTube. But the point is, she very short. This is maybe like 30 seconds, but proposing the solution, actually agreeing to a one-state solution. That's what she's proposing. That's what the Palestinians say they want, a one-state solution. And she's saying that well, let her speak for herself, okay? So here is Caroline Glick.
I think that our men and women and our civilians who have given their lives over the past year in this war have done enough for us to stand up and say, we demand your respect and your recognition. This is our land, and we're going to apply our sovereignty to it. Jordan Valley, the mountains of Samaria, the hills of Judea, and everything in between. It's Jewish land. It's ours. We've earned everybody's respect in the past year. We've earned everybody's respect in the past 3,500 years. And I think the bill has come due, and we have to demand that it be paid.
And there you have it. You just heard it. An Israeli endorsing a one-state solution, agreeing to exactly what the Palestinians really want and exactly what all these people, these nuts marching, even in the United States, are saying. Palestine will be free from the river to the sea, except one little twist. It'll be called Israel. Okay, and it would have a Jewish majority. But on the other hand, the Palestinians, they would be a minority, but they would be like the minority in Israel who want nothing to do with a Palestinian state because they see what's happening to the Palestinians. They would be oppressed just like the Palestinians are by Mahmoud Abbas, by Palestinian Authority in the north and by Hamas in the south, at least for the short remaining time that Hamas will exist. So they would be much better off under the Israelis too. And well, the point is, that's what they want, is a one-state solution. And the roadblock has been, you see, this is why a misconception here, a possible one. Well, if you want to actually pursue this solution, the first thing you have to do is take an accurate census, because the argument against it by a lot of Israelis is that, well, the Palestinians would be the majority and Israel would cease to exist. But the fact is, Jews are they're 75% of Israel are Jews. And then you have 20% Palestinians, then you have, Christians and other people. But what's not known or not talked about is Israel is also, or the Jews are 60% of the population between the river and the sea. They are the majority of the whole area. But to verify that, you should take an accurate census, because the Palestinians inflate their numbers. Number one, there's Jerusalem. Israel counts all, the entire Arab population of Jerusalem, but the Palestinians count them too. Okay, they count all the Arabs in Jerusalem, even though Jerusalem is Israel, or at least half of it is, and the international community is refusing to face reality and recognize that all of Jerusalem, it's not going to be divided again. Just, everybody get that out of his head. But they also count, the way censuses are done, that residents, the population of a country, are the people that are in the country. People who, now sometimes people will go visit, will travel outside the country on vacation or whatever. But after a year, once somebody is out of the country, once the Palestinians who are living overseas, who have been out of Judea and Samaria and Gaza for over a year, they are not counted in the census. They are not the population anymore. They are not in that area anymore. So if you do an accurate account, you will find that Israelis are actually at least 60% of the population between the river and the sea. They are the majority. Now you look there, 75% in Israel, and it's interesting because you're seeing all these problems, say in Amsterdam and Berlin, you know, Germany, France, all these countries with the rest of Arab population, Muslim population, they're causing them a lot of problems, and they are only a small, like 2%, 3%, 4%, maybe 5% of a population. In Israel, Muslims are 20% of the population, and they're not having these kind of problems. So Israel is able to live, and the Arabs can live. Israeli Arabs, they can live anywhere they want within Israel, and they have the same rights. They live in there. If you do a little Googling, you can find an old Newsweek article, not that far back, by a gay Arab Muslim Israeli living right in the heart of Tel Aviv and saying, you know, it's great here. You can look at, I saw a video of, there were some Israeli Arabs, some young students, they were demonstrating out, you know, outside a university, you know, Palestine will be free, blah, blah, blah. And another Israeli, older one shouting at them, well, go to Jenin. Jenin is a hotbed of terrorism, and it's in the Palestinian Authority. You say, well, you know, go to Jenin. And so on and so forth. The point is that Israel functions perfectly fine with a 20%, you know, being 75% of the population, of the Israeli population, and having 20% Arabs. So what if Israelis, the other fact you have to put in here, you have to add to the mix, is that there was a time when the Arabs, the Palestinians, had a higher birth rate, but that changed 2 years ago. Now the Jews have the higher birth rate, and because of now you have. Because of Israel, and you having the Arab Israelis are going to universities, the women, I mean, and so they're getting educated, and educated women usually don't go out and have 10 children, okay? They're modern, they get jobs or whatever, and they have a couple of kids. The Israelis, on the other hand, their birth rate is something like 3.0, a little over that, and the Arabs, it's 2 point something. So the point is that the Israeli population is growing relative to the Palestinian population, and eventually they will be, one way or the other, they will be 75% of the population between the Mediterranean and the Jordan, and there would be no reason to combine, make it all one state as far as Israel is concerned, because they would be able to operate the same way they are. Plus, they would have, you know, they would be better able to provide security. There wouldn't be a matter of, you know, making raids and coming out into the Palestinian Authority. They would be able to, well, there would be police all the time. And that's the other thing. Then these areas would be, well, the Palestinians, 98% of the Palestinians are being governed by the Palestinian Authority, okay? So any oppression that they're feeling or whatever, they're getting it, they're being oppressed by the Palestinians. And I saw some recent videos were posted of Palestinian dissenters being tortured in Palestinian prisons. No one wants to talk about that, but maybe I would show the video. If you send me a request, I'll show the video. But they really, it's not something I would want, you know, people to see. But if you insist, I'll dig them up. But the point is that if I were, as Caroline Glick said, to just annex the whole area, either all at once or little by little, and as I said in the title, to this vlog, I said, guess who agrees? I mentioned Mike Huckabee earlier. He's now going to be he will be, I'm 100% sure he will be confirmed. He will be the next ambassador to Israel. And here is just look at this headline. Huckabee, annexing Judea and Samaria, of course, a possibility. So Huckabee, at least, is on board with the idea of Israel just annexing the whole thing, because that's the problem that the Israelis have, is they have, it might scotch the Abraham Accords or cause a lot of tension there, because the parties to the Arab, the Bahrainis and the Emiratis, in order for the accords to happen, Israel had to back off annexing Judea and Samaria. And so there would be some tension there, and you have the international community, blah, blah, blah. But you have, if the Americans, if the Trump administration, if the United States is behind the annexation and they have Israel's back, then it could happen. Now, it could happen all at once, but my advice would be just to keep expanding the neighborhoods, the settlements, whatever you want to call them, as Israel's population grows. And so that when you annex an area that Israel, let's say, is 80% of the entire area, and then as the population grows a little more, then annex some more, and on until you get to the Jordan. Unfortunately, as you saw on that map, the other side of the Jordan was also part of ancient Israel, and Israel and Judah, but that's off limits, and the Israelis don't want it. And you have the Jordan River as a nice natural barrier. But by the way, I linked to that Huckabee article so you can watch it. I always when I show an article, I always link to it, and. There was, and one other thought, this will be my last thought, is that what about Gaza? Okay, no one's talking about Gaza. So once Hamas is gone, then Gaza can be Palestine. If you want a Palestinian state, then Gaza could be a Palestinian state. So there you go. That's a solution. Everybody will be, except people who hate Israel, anti-Semites won't be happy, but the rest of us should be. And the Arabs living under Israeli civilian law as opposed to military law in the few parts where they're being covered. Well, being under Israeli law instead of Palestinian Authority oppression, they will be happier too, and would be the first in say 5 years after the annexation, would be the first to vote against dividing the land again, partitioning again. So that's my thoughts for today. A long one today. I threw a few things in there, but thanks for stopping by. I suspect, I can't predict, I might get a few comments on this, but they're welcome, okay, below the video in the comment section. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it, but most of all, come back and see me again. I would love to see all of you again, and until I do see all of you again, bye.